Good morning from Auckland once again, back down on Queen's Wharf. Had to come down this morning and record this. I got some shit to talk about, and it's some serious shit. It is some serious shit, and yeah, it has everything to do with what I listened to last night, and remembering shit that I used to know. You know, I think we do a pretty good job of learning shit and getting it down and being really good for a while, and then just kind of veering off course. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. But the shit I'm going to talk about it's really heavy. So, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you that you must take the responsibility for that choice. And only do so if you can listen with an open mind and without judgment. I do not typically talk about my spirituality. It probably just because I'm pretty sure if people heard the shit that I talk about, they'd fucking lock me up. I talk a lot about believing versus knowing. And my spirituality is the shit that I know. It's shit that my soul recognizes as the truth. But my human brain doesn't necessarily believe because it's some pretty unbelievable shit. It has no basis in logic or science, which is what I've pretty much dedicated my life to as a human. Science and things that we can prove through repetition and you know, scientific theory and study. I struggle with that a lot, my spirituality versus my logical brain, because I'm pretty much almost exclusively logical. So my spirituality is a side of me that not a lot of people see. I keep it hidden. I keep it sacred. But what I experienced last night with Dr. Dyer just left me so fucking compelled to talk about some of this stuff, because it's not just me. Okay, you're going to hear me talk about the soul versus the ego, who I am as a spirit and who I am as a human. Realizing that those were two different things, I think I mentioned this in another podcast, is what changed my life about three years ago. Because you realize that you can separate the bullshit from the stuff that makes you happy. The insecurities from what's real. Learn to not take your emotions and your thoughts very seriously because they're not you. And if you have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, just listen and think about it and don't judge it, because a lot of people can't. They don't have the awareness to separate their mind from their body or their soul from their mind. Those are three different things. The mind, the body, and the soul. And anytime that there's a misalignment between those three entities, you're going to feel anger, depression, anxiety. Usually people are prone to one of the three. If you dwell on the future, you're prone to anxiety. If you dwell on the past, you're prone to depression. And I don't really understand the inner rage source so well. That's not something I've ever experienced, but I do know that a lot of people struggle with just inner rage issues, and that's a significant source of negative energy in their life. So yeah, shit's gonna get weird, okay? And I'm choosing to put this out there because I think it could help people, and I want to help people, and I want to help myself. I'm being selfish, you know, big surprise. I gotta talk some of this shit out because I got some significant fucking issues, especially right now. That I don't feel like if I don't talk about it, if I don't address this shit and start to suss it out in my head, then I could potentially ruin a real chance of being happy. Because my insecurities and my ego self-sabotage. Really bad. I'm a self-saboteur, and that is an archetype that I'll kind of glance over as I talk about my spirituality and kind of how I formed it and where it came from. It's an amalgamation of a lot of different theories, because I think that you should recognize what you know. Again, believing versus knowing. I think that you should just listen to some of this shit, and if you don't believe it, that's fine. If something speaks to you, just says, oh, fuck, that's a good point, something I haven't thought about. Then, yeah, just listen with an open mind. But, man, this shit was running through my head so hard last night. I was taking notes on my phone. I was taking notes on paper. Couldn't sleep, even though I took 2 Benadryl. I call them Bennies. Isn't that cute? One funny thing, actually, I was lying in bed, listening to some Enya, just trying to kind of unwind, process. One thing that I know I need to get back into after last night is meditation. You have to shut your fucking mouth and mind off to hear your intuition, your soul. Okay, and let's get some definitions out of the way here. I don't like using the term God, but Dr. Wayne Dyer and a lot of spiritual leaders, they use the word God because it's relatable. Everybody knows what you're talking about when you're talking about God. Most people who are not religious are not comfortable with that term, including me. So what you have to understand is that when I talk about God, I'm talking about the energy that connects everything in the universe. And we are such an in-fucking significant part of that. I just want you to wrap your brain around that. I mean, we are a flea on the ass of a tick, on a dog, on one hair of like a fucking Siberian husky with a ton of hair. I mean, we are so small and insignificant. Our life on this planet is a blip. Our souls are eternal. If you don't believe that, then, that's fine. You believe whatever makes you feel comfortable and happy. That's my number one rule. But I believe in reincarnation. I've seen too much shit in this life. I don't believe in reincarnation. I believe in it and I know it. I know that reincarnation is real. So yeah, when I talk about God, it's the same thing as talking about awareness, enlightened consciousness, the soul. However you want to think about that glue that holds all this shit together. The creator, God is just a term that we have in Western social society have become familiar with. Some people call it the Tao. Eastern religions they have Brahma, yin and yang, and all this shit. It's just a way to describe that driving force, that part of us that the ego does not control. This life is gonna go. It does not give a shit about the humans and what they're doing. This energy keeps going no matter what. But it's in every single one of us. And if we can shut our fucking egos up long enough to hear it, then you can have a significant experience. You can realize I'm not my thoughts. I am not this bullshit that has happened to me. I'm not a victim of circumstance. There is no such thing as luck. I talk about luck a lot to other people just so they can understand what I'm talking about when I talk about how I got here to New Zealand. Some shit happened at Hospira that I never have and never will get into. My job. And I got the plane ticket for free because of air miles. I got my working holiday visa overnight for free. When I got here, getting here was difficult. Read about that on my blog. I'll post links. Getting here was a trial, but I truly believe that was a test of how bad do you want this? Do you really want your life to change? Because if you do this, shit is never going to be the same. Do you want it? And I didn't just want it. There was no other way. It was my only fucking option. Everybody says I was so brave for doing this. I didn't feel like it was bravery. It felt like I just didn't have a choice. I had what Dr. Wayne Dyer would call a burning desire. And he really stressed last night that we need to be willing, determined, and fearless to follow these burning desires. So when you have a calling, when your intuition, when your gut is fucking telling you to do something, think about all the times in your life when you've turned away from that. Hasn't been good, has it? No. No. You gotta fucking put on your big boy pants and do what you're being compelled to do. And it's not always easy, and it's not always fun. In fact, it's not. But I'll kind of get into why I think that. When I got here, again, I call it luck, but it's not luck. Things happened for me here exactly the way they were supposed to because I showed the fuck up. I landed in Christchurch. 2 days after I landed, I emailed my resume to a company I used to work with at a different company because all fucking pharmaceutical companies are incestuous. The day I emailed my resume, HR called me. I had my phone interview the next day. 5 days later, I went up for an interview. They hired me on the spot. I was employed within 2 weeks of landing here. And I'm not talking about a Burger King job. I'm talking about a professional job. The day I got the job, I filed my expression of interest for the skilled migrant permanent resident visa. Even though everybody said it took 6 months to be in the applicant pool before your expression of interest was selected, mine was selected in less than 2 weeks. So in less than 2 weeks, I was invited to apply for permanent residency. It took me about 3 to 4 months to get everything together to submit my application. No, only 2.5 months, I think. And in less than 2 months, I got my permanent residency visa. No one has ever heard of it happening that fast. Literally. Everybody I've talked to. It takes years. It takes at least months. I thought it would take at least 6 months. So, I landed here on February 10th. And as of today, I am a permanent resident of New Zealand. That is not fucking luck, people. It's the same when I got my scholarship to University of Rochester. It's the same as all the shit that's happened to me. This is not fucking luck, okay? You have to concede that shit happens for a reason. You meet who you're supposed to meet when you meet them. Things happen to you on God's time, not on your time, which is why we often feel frustrated. You will not receive lessons until you're ready for them. I couldn't come to New Zealand until I had that relationship with Chris and taken the first step to elevating my level of consciousness, to getting where I am. I could not have been here fat. Fat Summer would not have meshed well with New Zealand. I had to go through everything that I went through to be here now. But there is one last thing that I need to fix to make life here as fulfilling and happy as it can. And I'll kind of talk about that. But one funny thing I wanted to mention is last night, I said I couldn't fucking sleep. The shit was going through my head. So crazy. Couldn't stop thinking. And as I lay there with, my headphones in, and I felt a couple of rumbles, and I was like, ah, shit. Earthquakes here are very, very common. I've never felt a big one, though. So I felt a bit of a rumble, and I was like, oh, okay, little earthquake, no biggie. But then, every 10 or 15 minutes, it kept happening. And sometimes they were, bigger rumbles, and sometimes they were smaller ones. And I was like, what the fuck? That seems kind of weird. And that's when I looked up with one particularly bad rumble, I look up, and my whole bed is shaking. I was like, oh, fuck, this one's going to get bad. And then I realized, it dawns on me, that it's not an earthquake. It's the bitch sleeping above me who somewhat resembles Brienne of Tarth. So I don't have to tell you, this chick was fucking big. She's like this big Scandinavian chick. She's sleeping above me. And her repositioning in her bed is what I am perceiving as earthquakes. Anyway, I thought that was funny. And I wanted to say something funny because this shit's going to be serious, like I said. So, pretty much what Dr. Dyer was talking about last night is exactly what I said. Separating the ego from the soul, from the piece of God that we all are. And his daughter got up and sang the song by India Ari called I Am Light. And the song is all about how we are light, how we are pieces of God. We are not the shit that has happened to us. We're not the mistakes that we've made. You know, we are not these things in the human world that we perceive, that some of us can only see and that others can kind of start to see as, some of us can have awareness and kind of see like, oh, well, I shouldn't take that too seriously because that's, you know, I don't know where that fucking emotion comes from. I have a real hard time with my emotions, especially if I do not understand their source. My analyzer is very active. And again, you know, it may sound weird, but I'm going to talk about aspects of myself in the third person because they really are just aspects. No one is who I am. No one of these aspects of me are who I am. They are just pieces of me that I either brought in or that I accumulated. And probably one of the things that enables me to be so intelligent also really breaks me down in a bad way is my analyzer. Because when I don't understand something, I start analyzing it and I start overthinking it. And it's great when you apply it to science. It makes me a phenomenal scientist. I'm not going to just pat myself on the back here. I deserve some credit. I have a super processor brain that just fucking breaks things down, and it's really beneficial because it makes me smart. But when that fucker gets loose on emotions, oh, it is bad. Bad news bears. Bad town USA population summer. Because I struggle with my emotions. Because I don't understand them. And you know, last night, just thinking, well, if I am light, if I am God, if I am not the ego, if I am not the shit that has happened to me, or the shit that I have done, if I'm not my restrictions, because that's what our ego is. It's those things that restrict us. They keep us locked in human form and make us forget that we are these infinite beings that go through life. I mean, like I said, this is just one lifetime. This is fucking small bananas. But if we are not these things, then who the fuck are we? And our ego actually gets scared. It's our ego that's afraid of death, not our soul. Our soul knows that the soul never stops. It is the ego. That is where the depression, where the anxiety comes from. It comes from the ego because the ego does not want to die. And when I went through my first transformation, you know, I struggled with this too. And I feel the same fear that I did then. That it's like, it's time. It's time to shed a layer of that ego, to let it go. Because it's restricting me. It makes me feel broken. So, you know, I kind of asked myself, you know, if I'm not these things, if I am not my ego, then who am I? And why the fuck am I here? And, you know, that's a question I asked my parents when I was 3 years old. That is the first thing I remember asking my parents. I used to ask them all the time, and it started when I was 3. Why am I here? Why am I here? Because I had this feeling. It was almost like I could remember. I remember distinctly what I saw in my brain when I asked that question. I saw the universe. I saw all of it. And I was like, what the fuck? Why am I here? I felt like someone put me here to trick me. Like I should have skipped this human experience. Like I've done it enough times. I get it. So why am I here again? And that's something I've asked myself for a long time. And I've gotten various answers to that question. I'm not going to share it. During my first transformation, it was clear to me that I needed to learn how to be humble and how to be patient. I've learned humility to a certain extent. I don't know if I'm any closer to learning patience, to be honest. Shit. I struggle with patience a lot. But last night, no sooner did I write down why the fuck am I here, than I got my answer. Because guess what? When you ask yourself these questions, you will actually get an answer. But you gotta ask the question. And you gotta shut the fuck up to hear the answer. And you have to be tuned into it. You have to be willing to concede that there is an answer inside you to be heard. And I thought, I'm here to learn. I am here to learn how to be happy, how to love, and how to be God. Okay, and I say God there, but what I'm talking about is I'm here to shed the ego. I'm here to raise my level of consciousness. 3 years ago when I went through my first transformation, I did that. I went up a level. I felt it. I felt that shift. And for the last couple of weeks, I could feel myself getting uncomfortable in my human skin. And it's reared its ugly head, mostly emotionally, because of what I'm attempting to do in my life right now. My emotions are really running amok, which really fucking breaks me down because I don't understand things. My analyzer goes crazy. I mean, you can hear it. You can hear it in my voice right now. I get fucking confused. And I just want to be happy. Like, it's so easy, right? That's all I want. When I ask myself, what do you want? I don't want material shit. I don't want money or cars. Like, the only thing I want is to be happy. And when I say, learning how to love and how to be God, that's the same thing. Because God is love. That pure consciousness, that's love. That is unconditional love. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships or with your kids or with your family. That's what I'm talking about it all. How do you love unconditionally? Unfortunately, I've written about this. I love one person and one person only unconditionally, and that is my sister. I struggle. And that's basically why I'm talking about this. What kickstarted my transformation 3 years ago was my breakup with Chris. Because one day he turned to me. The end, when the end's coming, you can feel it, and it had been coming on for a while. He looked at me one day, and he didn't say it mean. He said, "What's going to make you happy?" And I just stared at him, feeling nothing but pure terror, because I had no fucking clue. I had no clue. I looked at him, and all I knew is that it wasn't him. He didn't make me happy. But I had no clue how to make myself happy. I did not like who I was. I'd been starving myself for so long that I probably couldn't really think or process things properly. I was killing myself because my ego had just completely taken over. I'd lost any sight that I had of my consciousness, my awareness. It kind of got absorbed through a relationship that started out beautiful and kind of turned detrimental because I started compromising who I was to be in that relationship. So I haven't really talked about this. I don't think I've ever really shared this. But what kickstarted my transformation was when I was going through that with Chris, it was the first and only time in my life that I had actually sought professional help for my eating disorder. I think the only person I've told this to is my mother. They wanted me to be inpatient for 6 weeks. They thought that I had gone that deep into my eating disorder that I actually needed to be hospitalized and rehabilitated professionally. Like everything in America, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford that level of care. So I thought, I've just got to suss this out on my own. And even though my sessions were $100 a pop, I felt like I needed to get some help. And this chick looked at me one day. I was crying in her office because we didn't end up actually talking about my eating disorder so much as we ended up talking about Chris because shit was coming to blows, and I was really struggling with that. She looked at me and she said, "Summer, this isn't about your eating disorder and it's not about Chris. You have no clue who you are. You're having an identity crisis." And I fucking laughed. It's like, what does that even mean? An identity crisis. Well, she was right. When you don't know who you are, how to make yourself happy, you're having an identity crisis. I was losing the identity that I had held so dear for so long, which was Chris's fiance. That was the only identity that I liked at the time, because everything else in my life was shit. I hated my job. I was starving myself. I hated what I was doing to my body. I hated my body. Because even though I'd lost a bunch of weight, I had all this extra skin. I'd never dealt with the identity swap that comes with losing more than half your body weight. I had no idea who the fuck I was. So yeah, and that's what this is all about. Who are you? What is your identity? Through my transformation, I came up with a definition for myself that was not based on my human form, so that I would be grounded, so that no matter what happened to me in this human life, I could still have an identity that was not going to be compromised. I wasn't just a sister or a daughter or the girlfriend to so-and-so or a chemist. I kind of went through this phase of switching my identities every so often. Be like, okay, this week I'm going to be the runner, and I would run my ass off that week. I'd run like 20 miles a day. And then the next week I said, okay, this week I'm going to be this. And one week I just literally practiced breaking habits, just breaking them down, trying to stop compulsive thoughts and actions. Like I wouldn't brush my teeth for a day, which is, disgusting. Or, like I'd eat my breakfast differently, or I'd eat a different breakfast. Like I just did small things that made me very uncomfortable, very fucking uncomfortable. Because I am, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to my habits. They bring me comfort. So I did all this trippy shit. I listened to things. I started reading a lot about spirituality. And I worked out a lot of my shit. I did. My anxiety it went from literally incapacitating. People who know me now would never guess that I used to be agoraphobic. I wouldn't leave my house. There was a period of time where I didn't talk to anybody. Me, fucking Miss Social Butterfly. I was really fucked up for about 2 years. And then when I re-entered society, I found this great group of young Boulderites who gave me a new identity, and they called me the wild card because I say unpredictable shit. And that is something I fucking love about myself. One of the things I really struggle with is, okay, fuck, if I'm supposed to shed this ego, how do I know? How do you know what is the ego and what is the soul? Who am I really? Well, I don't have a good answer for that. I don't. But I figure my soul, when you feel love and happiness, that is what's coming from the soul. If you feel fear, anxiety, or depression, or any negative emotion, that's coming from your ego. And I just go on that. I also go on the fact that, I have been shocking people with the shit that I say since I could talk, which was around 6 months. So, baby, I came in with that. That is me. That's not ego. I didn't accumulate that here. I came in with that. So, yeah, I love that. I love that about myself. Yeah. But basically what this is all coming to is, I fixed a lot of myself. I went down deep, and I went down. One of the most fascinating things I read was a book by Carolyn Myss called Sacred Contracts. Now, I'm all about putting responsibility on yourself. I take responsibility for the fact that I'm sharing this, that some of the shit I'm going to say in a little while might hurt some people. I take responsibility for that. All I can say is know that I'm not meaning to hurt anybody. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest here. These are my struggles. This is a struggle of one human trying to be a human and trying to be happy. I'm trying to make myself comfortable in a very uncomfortable world because souls are here to learn, but some people are better at the game. I'm not very good at this game because I feel like I should be fucking done with it. But I'm here and I've got to make the most of it. There's a reason I'm here. And like I said, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn how to love and how to be happy. So, if I got to do that by shedding my ego, sometimes you gotta just read some shit and see what speaks to you. And one of the things that speak to me was this concept of sacred contracts. It is a concept that before we entered this life, before we entered this incarnation of our life, we chose our sex. We chose our parents. We chose the characteristics that we would have, our archetypes that I'll talk about in a second. We chose the people that we would meet along the way. I chose to have this experience and to share this with you. And anything significant that I do in my life, I planned that all out before I got here. And that allows you. You're not a fucking victim. You chose this. I'm not a victim of my childhood. I chose it. I chose it to make me strong. I chose it to make me independent. I chose these things. I knew what I was getting into. That allows me to take a responsibility over the things that happen to me in this life that make me feel empowered. Because guess what? I could walk back to my fucking hotel room right now and get plowed by a car. Last night walking around, I could have gotten mugged or raped. And most people fancy themselves victims. That's an archetype that all people have and most people identify with exclusively is the victim mentality. Oh, well, this happened to me or that happened to me. And I couldn't control it. Boo-hoo. No. You signed up for it. There's a reason why this shit happened and you've got to figure out why. It's there to make you grow. It's there to make you stronger. You have to learn to see the lessons in this shit. If you're unemployed for a super long time, your shit gets tough, you have no money. We all experience awful shit in this life. And instead of making yourself a victim, say, fuck that, I chose this. Why? Why would I do this to myself? I'm a fucking masochist? Well, we're all masochists. We all choose these hard lessons, but we chose them for a reason. Empower yourself with that knowledge. Some people who are chronically ill, what has it taught you? It's going to teach you how to be strong because you're living with it and you're dealing with it. You're learning and growing. And yeah, it fucking sucks. It sucks hard. But it's going to make you a better person. So, why? Why am I transitioning again? Why am I shifting? Well, I didn't start to feel the shift until I met somebody. And I haven't talked about it a lot publicly because I don't like to. Now, for every one of these fucking podcasts that I actually release on YouTube, I record 1 million more to myself every day. And they're usually about one specific person that I will not post publicly because I do not believe... I believe in keeping something sacred, but I struggle emotionally in relationships. But I'm experiencing this shift because I've met the right person to make me want to go through this because it is gonna be fucking painful. Because my number one unresolved issue and insecurity is that I am incapable of having of feeling romantic love. That I will destroy every relationship I have. That my human deficiencies have left me so broken that I cannot recover. that my need for emotional support is so high maintenance that it'll eventually destroy every relationship in my life. I struggle against my emotions in such a significant way. I can't describe it. I know it comes from a lot of things. It comes from my fear of abandonment. A lot of this shit came from my childhood. I'm afraid of abandonment, a crippling fear. So I'm very insecure about people leaving me. And probably the biggest doozy, and I'm just being honest. I'm not saying this shit to hurt anybody, but there are a few people, very significant people in my life, who are pathological liars. And that really does a fucking number on you. Because of my analyzer, I think I've talked about this before. I double down on my crazy. I think in not one layer of complexity, but two. And I'll describe that this way. I don't believe people when they tell me they love me. And it's not that I don't believe. So there's two layers there. I believe that they believe they love me. But I don't believe they love me. Now I know that's not gonna make any sense, right? But if you think about the way I was raised by people who were pathological liars. They believed what they said was the truth. But they were lying. And I knew they were lying. And you can't fault a pathological liar for lying. Because they do not know that they're lying. They lie to themselves on such a deep level that they think they're telling the truth. That has left me with trust issues that don't really apply to anybody except for romantic relationships. Now, my track record really is only Chris. I had my first boyfriend when I was 25. We were engaged for 3 years. Shit didn't work out. And for the first time since then, I'm in love with someone. And this shit is rearing its ugly head. Again. And it's left me in pain and left me confused and left me feeling like I'm fucking losing my mind. And I'm so terrified that this shit and these issues and these insecurities are going to destroy a relationship that hasn't even started yet. Something that could really be significant and make my life enriched and happy and full, that my insecurities are going to fucking obliterate it before it even has a chance to really form. Because people deserve to be trusted. I think like people tell me, he says he loves me, and I don't know why. I don't see it. I don't understand. But I know, I don't believe it. But here's what I know. I know that he loves me for the same reasons I love myself. I'm funny. I'm smart. I'm pretty. I'm crazy. You know? I'm me. I know he loves me because it's a feeling I got before he ever told me. But I just can't get my ego to believe it. So that ego has got to get broken down. That ego, those insecurities that are stopping me from trusting, stopping me from having a functioning relationship, this shit's, it's got to go. I don't know how to get rid of it. It's going to be a process. But I got to figure it out. Otherwise, this relationship is never going to work. because I start feeling these emotions and I start getting scared and I just want to throw up my hands and be like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because I self-sabotage. I was talking about archetypes before. Carolyn Myss says that we all have 4 basic archetypes. The rest are ones that we kind of choose in our sacred contracts. The 4 basic archetypes are the victim. We all feel like victims sometimes. The saboteur. We all are guilty of sabotaging our own happiness for various reasons. Most people just don't think that they deserve to be happy. We all have a child archetype, and there are different child archetypes. I'm the abandoned child. Abandoned child archetypes are usually very strong and independent people with severe emotional trauma. And we are all the prostitute. We all sell ourselves for a price. Most people will sell themselves to be in a relationship. They will compromise who they are to not be alone. I'm the opposite of that. I will sell my own happiness to avoid emotional pain. So those are the basic archetypes. They all have light and dark attributes, good and bad. And when you start thinking about these various identities in you and how they're kind of working in your own life, it just helps me. If I know, I send a text and I'm like, oh, that was the saboteur. Yep, I just sabotage my own happiness. Yeah, and these emotional aspects of things make me feel crazy. And then I think, well, why the fuck is this guy with me? I'm nuts. I can't figure out my own fucking emotions. Like, who would want to be with someone like that? I am not high maintenance in a material way. I do not want people to buy me shit. In fact, I am very against it. Spend money on me if you want to, but I do not want people to think that that's the kind of shit that matters to me, because it's not. But emotionally, I am probably the most high maintenance person ever. It's like my insecure ego needs constant validation, constant contact. I can't, there's just no security right now. I feel very afraid. And fear comes from the ego. I'm terrified. I'm positively fucking terrified. And if I don't figure out a way to address that, to turn that fear into strength, then this isn't gonna work. I feel like I had is there a fucking silver lining or a happy ending to this story? I don't. Oh. Yeah. No. The happy ending of the story is figuring out that this shit isn't me. It's the ego. It's the shit that I've led myself to believe. Another huge insecurity of mine, I can't have kids. Can't have them. For 2 different reasons. One, I got cervical cancer and had to have half my cervix removed. So I've got no plug to keep the little fucker in, even if there was a bun in the oven. So I would likely miscarry if I was to get pregnant. And 2, I've got no eggs to fertilize. I've already been through menopause. I went through menopause early. The doctors reckon it was genetic. I either ran out of eggs early or I didn't make enough when I was going through puberty. If I want kids, I have to adopt. And to be honest, I just really don't think I want kids. And that is something I struggle with. And that is also something I do not believe when people tell me. There's been a couple of guys that I've known that's like, oh, kids, I wouldn't be with you. I know that you can't have kids, so I wouldn't be with you if, that was going to be an issue. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. Because you may think that this is what you want now, but 3 years down the road, you are going to feel that biological call that we all feel to procreate. As a biologist, I have to concede that I cannot do the one thing that humans were put on this earth to do. I literally have no purpose biologically on this earth. And I'm a biologist, so yeah, that fucks me up bad. Real bad. I refuse to believe people when they say they kids are not a big deal to them. So I'm like, they aren't now, but they will be. And the minute that becomes significant in your life, I'm going to get tossed out like a fucking used up can of soup. So do I want to invest these emotional feelings in someone that I think is just going to leave me down the road? Yeah, that's a huge insecurity. This, and going along with that, I fucking hate. I didn't meet Chris's mom for the whole 3 years that I was with him, and I was dating someone in Kansas. We were friends for a long time, and then we kind of started dating. And meeting his mother was fucking terrifying to me, because, look, do you think I don't know what I look like to a mother? What mother in their right fucking mind wants a daughter-in-law who swears compulsively, who is covered in tattoos and can't have kids? Holy shit. Talk about falling a few bricks short of a load. No mother in their right mind would want a daughter-in-law like that. So yeah, I feel insecure because I assume what people want, and I just don't fit the fucking bill. I'm what I want. Because of my first transformation, I've reached a level of self-acceptance. But for some reason, I can't convince myself that I'm what other people would want, too. That's the difference between self-acceptance and self-love. It took me such a long time to love myself that I'm kind of just thinking like, okay, well, that's all I can really expect, right? I think it's unfair to expect that other people are going to love me too. Because it took me so fucking long to love myself that, Jesus Christ, it would take anybody else double that time. So yeah. I have severe trust issues. This is it. This is the hurdle. This is why I'm shifting. I need to learn how to shed these things. Because with them, I will never have a relationship that means anything. It's not going to happen. I have to resolve this issue. Because fear manifests itself just like hopes and dreams and wishes do. If I'm afraid I'm not capable of a romantic relationship, then guess what? I will sabotage every single fucking relationship I have until it doesn't work so that I can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I will effectively allow my insecurities to ruin every relationship I have. Because I don't believe it. Probably the most significant thing that Dr. Dyer said last night was the last thing he said. And then it fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, you can either be a host to enlightened consciousness, or God, or universal, or the spirit, or how the fuck you want to say it, or a hostage to your ego. And oh man, yeah, hostage. The fears and insecurities that my ego creates hold me hostage. They hold my happiness hostage. They hold my ability to love unconditionally hostage. My ability to trust and to love on a deeper level are being held hostage because of the insecurities and brokenness that my ego manifests because of the shit that's happened to me, because of my restrictions. I'm not saying any of this because I've got the aha fucking moment. I'm saying this because it's true. And for all the shit that I've learned through my first transformation, for all the spiritual stuff that I've seen work in my life, I'm admitting that I don't know what to do. And sometimes we need someone to show us. I think one thing that I'm just so used to trying to do it on my own, because I've always been on my own. And I'm thinking, well, if I can't figure this out, then what's the point? But, boy, I'm admitting right here now, I need help on this one. I need all the help I can get. You talk about it with people, with friends, and they say, well, just don't think about it. Just relax. Oh, nothing pisses me off faster than that. If I could just fucking relax, I would be summer. If I could just don't feel that way. What? How the fuck do I do that? Someone write the fucking manual and give me a signed copy. Just let those thoughts and feelings go. Okay, sure. Can you tell me how to do that? Because, boy, that'd be fucking great. Look, I know that I am not my thoughts and my emotions. But it doesn't make them hurt less. Maybe it could if I could create some space. If I could meditate and let whatever that consciousness is start to just say, that's your ego. That's not you. You know how to love. You're a soul. You're pure light. You are love. You don't know you don't have to learn how to love. You just have to be yourself. If you can remember who yourself really is. Huh, that was rather deep, wasn't it? Maybe I should listen to that back. Anyway, this is getting long enough. I've got some shit to figure out. I've got the motivation because I've got someone in my life that I'm not going to lose because of bullshit. I'm not going to allow my ego to ruin something like this. That's the motivation. That's the reason I started feeling this shift. What I'm gonna do? I have no idea. No fucking clue. But I'm gonna figure it out. It might take years. It might happen overnight. I have no fucking clue. Something might just click one day when I'm meditating. I really don't know. I have no fucking clue what this looks like. I am in uncharted territory, folks. But the one thing that gives me solace is there's no human emotion that I have experienced that I haven't conquered. There are a finite number of human emotions. Think about it. You're not going to create a new fucking emotion. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There are a finite number of emotions, and that is because emotions come from the ego, and the ego comes from the human world. It does not come from the universal. So, I'm going to experience a lot of emotions. Some of them are going to be pleasant. Some of them are going to be not so fucking pleasant. There's a thing that I haven't even told you that I'm not going to share. Because I am going to keep a secret. There's a whole nother... this shift is the shift that I'm willing to talk about is this trying to let go of my ego so that I can have a functional, loving, real relationship that's going to last and I'm not going to sabotage for whatever fucked up reason I think I need to sabotage shit. But this guy's going to teach me something else that I've already started to kind of learn about. That's more based in the physical world, so I'm confident in that one. Oh, I'm confident in that one. This is the shit that I need help with. And it's shit that everybody needs help with. Everybody has bullshit, ego, insecurities that they let ruin aspects of their happiness or their ability to be happy completely. We all have bullshit. And you know what? That's why I don't judge people. I'm not thinking about the guy that I'm talking about and what's restricting him. He's got to figure that shit out on his own. I love him, and I will support him completely because I know that he's going to do the same thing for me. I'm just more open and public about these things because I want to help people. Because if talking about my struggles is going to open one person's eyes to the fact that they can change themselves, that they are not a victim of their ego, that it is scary, but you can shed certain aspects of yourself that make you unhappy. It's not easy and it fucking hurts. But at the end of the day, you're going to be a happier person because you're going to be more you. You're going to be the you that you came in with and that you left with. That's why I'm doing this. So if you want to judge me and you want to think I'm fucking crazy, go ahead. Do whatever makes you happy. Because God knows that is the only thing that matters in this life. God, I know that is the only thing that matters in this life. All right, it's an hour long. I'm not going to torment you any longer. Thank you for listening. And don't be afraid to comment on my blog or on the YouTube. Like, this is shit that I talk about. And if I thought there was enough people who wanted to talk about it and share these things and maybe go through some of this shit together, then let's fucking get a group together and talk about some crazy shit. Because you don't have to do it alone. You're not the only person that's struggling with this shit. You can help each other. It's not easy for some people to share this shit. It's easy for me because I don't fucking care. I shed that layer during my last transformation. The give a fuck factor is gone. That's how I kind of help my anxiety. I'm willing to talk about this shit. And I'm willing to listen. Without judgment. Because until the day I am fucking perfect, which is not going to happen, I refuse to judge another human. I refuse. Because we're all just souls trying to make ourselves comfortable and happy. And we need to help each other. All right? So, that was a heavy one. Thanks for listening.